I wanted to experiment with making ghosts out of different materials, so I picked up some white tulle and some white chiffon. And then I have the classic cheesecloth material, and I've already tried making a few ghosts out of that. I just want to compare and see what the different materials look like and how the end result is, which ones I prefer to work with. So if you're interested to see how each of these materials turns into a ghost, just keep watching. I have been wanting to do this craft for forever. I bought this cheesecloth a couple of years ago. I'm sure you've seen the cheesecloth ghosts all over the internet. I intended to make the cheesecloth ghost with it, I just never got around to it. So this year we're finally gonna do it. But they were just so cute. I wanted to make some of my own. I looked at several tutorials to find the best materials to do this. People usually use Mod Podge fabric stiffener or school glue. The least expensive option for this craft is school glue, so that is what I will be using. I did see a method where someone tinted their ghosts with acrylic paint, so I will be trying that as well. I've also seen another tutorial where someone spray painted their ghosts afterwards, gave them an ombre, so I might try different methods to add some color. I might also make some plain white ones as well. Let me just go over all the materials I have real quickly, and then we're just gonna get started. So I already showed you I have the cheesecloth. I picked up some balloons from Dollar Tree to shape the heads of the ghosts. You can also use styrofoam rounds, but I think this will be the cheaper option. I have some school glue. I was able to pick this up on clearance with all of the back to school sales, so I think each of these were 25 or 50 cents each. I picked some acrylic paint colors from my craft collection. I have plastic wrap to cover my work surface and my jar so that the glue doesn't stick to anything I don't want it to. I've seen people use pipe cleaners, but what I have is floral wire, so that is what I will be using to shape the arms. I should have thought to get a cheap bowl at the dollar store, but I didn't, so I think I will be wrapping these meal prep containers in plastic wrap. They are not that expensive at all, so if I do end up ruining these or turning them into craft containers, then that is fine with me. To put under the shape of my ghost, I have 3 large mason jars and 3 small mason jars. You can use whatever you have around the house and cover it with plastic wrap if you don't want it to be soaked in glue. Okay, let's just jump right in. I'm so excited, and I don't know what I'm doing, but this is a super easy craft, so I'm sure there's not a lot of ways you can mess it up. I'm going to start by covering my surfaces in plastic wrap and then prepping my ghost forms on my jars. After that, I will open up my cheesecloth and start cutting that into shapes I can use.
I started off by prepping my surfaces by covering them in plastic wrap. This will make it easier to remove the ghosts when they're dry and also protects your surface from any glue that may get onto the table. I wrapped an old shelf I had in plastic wrap so that I could move it around because the ghosts do take a long time to dry. Next, we need to create the base form of our ghost, so I'm starting with my large jars and blowing up some small balloons, and then I'm covering my jars in plastic wrap. I like to cut a slit in the top of the jar so the balloon fits into the top of the jar more easily, and then I tape the balloon into place. I created some arms for my ghost out of floral wire. My wire is a little bit thin, so I folded it in half so I had a little bit more strength and structure to support the arms. And then I used a combination of a rubber band and tape to hold those into place. I was really struggling to blow up these little balloons, so I got out my electric balloon pump. If you inflate the balloon larger than you need and then press down on it, slowly letting out the air until you get to the size that you need, you create a more rounded shape balloon, which is perfect for the head of a ghost. I prepped 3 large ghost forms, but I only ended up having enough material to do 2 ghosts at this sitting. I did several layers of cheesecloth just because I wanted to create a really sturdy form. So I ended up using just under 3 yards of cheesecloth for each ghost because I had a total of 6 yards of cheesecloth in my package. If you were doing smaller ghosts or you were doing less layers of cheesecloth, you would probably be able to make more than 2 ghosts. To make the fabric stiffening solution, you just need equal parts glue and water. I used a 4-ounce bottle of school glue and then I mixed in 4 ounces of water. The water can vary a little bit. You can add a little bit more or a little bit less depending on your preference, but I felt like the 1-to-1 ratio worked pretty well for me. As I was working, sometimes I added in a little bit more water to my glue solution because if you have the glue out for a long time, I feel like the water starts to evaporate a little bit. The process to make these ghosts is a little bit messy, but also fun. You want to make sure you fully saturate your piece of cheesecloth and wring out any excess glue. You then want to spread out the cheesecloth over your ghosts and arrange the folds how you like them. I spent a really long time arranging the folds, especially at the bottom of my ghosts, getting them to lay exactly as I wanted them to. I don't know how many layers I did on my ghost, but I feel like I did at least 4 or 5 layers of cheesecloth just to make sure everything was fully covered in every direction. The more cheesecloth you do on your ghost, the sturdier it is going to be when it is fully dried. If you want to be able to display your ghost on a tabletop like I'm going to, then you want to make sure the fabric fully touches the table. This will give the ghost a base to stand up on as it dries. I used different sizes of cheesecloth and I alternated the directions I was putting them on the ghost to make sure everything was covered to the bottom.
For this ghost, I added in a little bit of pink acrylic paint to my glue mixture, and I didn't want the whole ghost to be pink, so I really saturated it at the bottom, and then I lightly blended it up into the ghost to give it a subtle ombre effect. I think this turned out really pretty, and I loved the pop of color at the bottom of this ghost. After acquiring more material, it was time for another day of crafting. I started out by making myself a cinnamon vanilla steamer. I really wanted to make myself a cozy fall drink. This one was really easy because I had all of the ingredients already in my pantry. You just need milk, vanilla, brown sugar or regular sugar, cinnamon or pumpkin pie spice, and a pinch of salt. A lot of my specialty mugs aren't microwave safe, so I heat my milk up in a little teapot and then added all the ingredients into my mug and mixed them together with a little milk frother.
I wanted to experiment with making ghosts out of different materials, so I picked up some white tulle and some white chiffon. This was the cheesecloth material. It's a lot thinner weave, very loose. This is seriously so good. I'm gonna start out with some small ones so I can just see how the materials work and then decide. I think I'm gonna use these instead. I think I just like the size better. I will cover them in plastic wrap so I can reuse them.
After I made my cheesecloth ghosts, I was just really curious about what other materials I could use to make ghosts and how they would turn out, especially because cheesecloth sells out really quickly this time of year because everyone's using it for Halloween crafts and decor. So I wanted to see if other materials would work as well as cheesecloth because they might be easier to find this time of year. The first material I'm experimenting with is chiffon. Chiffon is really lightweight and sheer. I felt like it would be the perfect ghostly material. Chiffon was probably the easiest to work with out of all of the materials. Chiffon isn't that expensive, but it was the most expensive material that I worked with. The nice thing about chiffon was you only needed 2 layers of chiffon, unlike the tulle or the cheesecloth where I did at least 3 or 4 layers. While the chiffon was very drapey, the tulle had a lot more volume and it created a really full floaty ghost. Tulle is also one of the easiest materials to find. You can find it at almost any craft store, and it's usually around $1 per yard. These ghosts took around 24 hours to dry. Then I gently removed the forms from the inside, and I cut out eyes out of felt and glued them onto the ghosts with hot glue.
Have all of my ghosts here. I just wanted to give a quick overview of all the different materials I used and how they turned out. So I will start out with the cheesecloth ghosts because they are the first ones that I made. Cheesecloth material is really sturdy. I did a lot of layers. I love the texturing that you're able to get by layering this fabric because it's really sheer. I ombreed at the bottom of this one, which I thought was a really fun touch, and you're really able to mold different shapes into the ghosts, which is super fun and looks really beautiful. This is my other cheesecloth ghost. Again, like holds the structure really well, holds the shape really nicely. It's cute and spooky. I can see why the cheesecloth ghosts are popular because this works really well. I would say out of all of the materials I used, the cheesecloth worked best to do kind of the shaping. If you want to do arms, any more kind of molded deep. It was a little bit more finicky just because the material has all of those holes in it. It was a lot harder to spread out, and I did a lot more layers of the cheesecloth, so it took longer. So this is how the tulle turned out. It's very lightweight. I love the volume it has. And then I have this one. I would say when it comes to the tulle, these would make a really good hanging ghost, but it's a little bit harder to shape, so these might not be quite as good for doing a tabletop sitting ghost like the cheesecloth. But I would maybe opt to do these over cheesecloth if I was hanging them, because I love the really sheer ghostly look that these have. Next, I have the chiffon. So what I would say about the chiffon and any of the materials, this was only one layer, and it just doesn't really have like the structural stability as the other ones. I think it's really cute how this one pulls around the bottom. This one would be a really cute tabletop decor piece, and I think the chiffon is so cute, and it's nice that you don't need as many layers as you do with the tulle or the cheesecloth. Also makes a good hanging ghost. I really love how it holds like the folds and is kind of fun to mold with it. Like you can't do quite as much shaping with it, but it was so quick and easy to work with, and I think the result is really cute. Just for fun, because I had a little bit of extra glue, I decided to make a ghost with cotton fabric as well, and I love it a lot more than I thought I would. This one is one layer, but because it's cotton, a little bit of a stiffer fabric, it actually holds the shape pretty well, has some good structure to it. I trimmed the bottom. I think this one would be really cute to hang. Again, you could put this on a table flat, but I think this would be really cute to hang. I don't know if you can see in this video, but my fabric kind of has this floral print in it, which adds such a fun extra level of interest to plain white ghost. Especially fun if you put a battery powered tea light under this. You can really see those flowers glow, and I think that's so pretty. This craft turned out so cute. I think each of the materials worked really well. I now can't even pick a favorite. I look at them and I go, oh, maybe that fabric's my favorite, maybe that one. I just love how different they are. I love that if I did them in a little set all together, that there's a variety of textures and materials. I think it adds interest and makes each ghost a little bit more unique. I really love the chiffon and the tulle for the hanging ghost. I think they're so light and airy. I would recommend making a ghost out of any of these materials, depending on which look you like best, or try all of them like I did.
Happy crafting, and until next time, keep making magic.